Ladies and gentlemen, this is a brand new show brought to you by On the Mic. It is called Breaking the Lines with Kareem Karai and Sheikh Hamdan. Um, these are two of the top coaches in Pakistan right now with UEFA and AFC coaching licenses under their belts. The show is about in-depth analysis of key tactical moves and ideas जो major football matches में होते हैं और होंगे. So the aim is to look at the game and sort of understand it in a more detailed way. Go in more in depth about certain things. This is the first episode. After this, the show will be on Patreon and will be released on YouTube later as well. Guys, thanks so much for doing this. It's a great pleasure, and hopefully we'll have a lot of great shows. So we obviously saw the Champions League final. Manchester City lost to Chelsea 1-0. Kareem, Manchester City, what went wrong for them? They weren't their usual selves.
Yeah, first of all, Ismail, thank you so much for the generous introduction. I don't know if we're the best coaches or anything like that, but we're just students of the game and we're fascinated by football. What went wrong for City? Where to begin, Ismail? I've tried to narrow it down to a few ideas and factors, which I'm going to run through with you guys. So I'll just share my screen and we can go from there. So,
Yeah.
guys, let's start with the easy part. The easy part is the shape of Manchester City and what they were trying to achieve in this shape. So, guys, if we notice here, they had three at the back in possession, right? They had three defenders at the back. They had a diamond shape in midfield with one sitting, two on the sides, and Phil Foden at the top of the diamond. And then they had three up top. Mahrez wide right, Sterling wide left. You can't see him in the picture right now. And Kevin De Bruyne leading the line up top. It did change over time. We'll go into that later. But that was essentially the shape. Chelsea, as you guys can see, were defending in a 5-2-3, right? A 5-2-3. So let me run it on and we can talk about Pep, the great Pep. I love Pep, by the way, but I'm just very frustrated with Pep right now because of what he did. So, guys, because of Chelsea's shape, right? We'll just run it on again from the start. Because of Chelsea's shape, Rudiger, who's the left centre back, would come charging out to Bernardo Silva, who's playing wide of the midfield four, right? Now, where is the space? The space is very clearly, as you guys can see, behind Ben Chilwell and on the sides of Thiago Silva. And they were trying to exploit this space, right? But they were trying to exploit this space using Kevin De Bruyne, where we all can agree Kevin De Bruyne's strengths are not speed, pace,
Yeah.
running the channels. That's not his game, right? His game is with the ball, how he can, thread passes through, create things. He's brilliant at that. So we're going to just now see what happens here, right? So okay, let's look at a more suitable example. The ball goes out to the right center back of City, and we have Kevin De Bruyne now running into that space to exploit that area, right? Behind Rudiger. But what happens? Thiago Silva has him in his back pocket and tells him, buddy, go back to Belgium. So what the problem here, guys, is that clearly, perhaps he shouldn't be, not we shouldn't be, he shouldn't be using De Bruyne to be making those movements. You need a player with more speed, more pace.
Jesus or
We,
Sterling probably playing that role.
exactly, Jesus, Sterling. Why not have them making those runs? We'll run it on now and see the next clip. Where Sterling tries to beat James unsuccessfully and lose the ball. I've selected this clip, guys, just to show one thing, that if you want to be, think a little differently about the tactics here, why not have De Bruyne play where Sterling is playing, right? And De Bruyne now cutting in and trying to thread a pass through behind Aspilicueta, right? Wouldn't that be better?
Yeah.
in my opinion, I
Yeah,
think they would get
absolutely.
joy. They would get joy
I
from
think
that.
I think इसी बात पे just to sort of chime in, we saw the FA Cup final recently, जिसके अंदर लेस्टर ने भी देखा था कि the space is were between the side center backs and the wing backs, and they had Vardy to sort of try and do that, but वो successfully कर नहीं सके for other reasons, but
Exactly.
they at least tried to do it a few times. उनका they had the suitable player to do it. इधर जरा
They did.
mismatch हुआ था. And obviously, Thiago
Exactly.
Silva is on someone isn't scared of De Bruyne running in behind. That's not what they're scared of.
Yeah. And guys, the thing is that, look, it's also possible for Raheem Sterling to make wide to in runs, right? Out to in runs behind behind Reece James and behind Aspilicueta, as we'll see in this clip here. Now, I think Diaz has the ball, right? Now, Diaz has the ball. He's got space and time on the ball, as you can see, guys. Who do we have running the channels again? We have, I believe it's De Bruyne again,
Yep, it is De
running
Bruyne.
into that space. But guys, isn't it better to have maybe Sterling
Yeah.
running from this position?
And you know
From
what
this
could, yeah,
position.
you know what could have
Yes.
happened? De Bruyne could make you long versus short movement हो सकती. De Bruyne could have come deeper, drop deeper to sort of incite the centre back to come with him, which opens more space for the out to in run for Sterling in this
I
example.
think
Exactly.
I would just like to add into it, yes, the ball didn't get played, but if you just look at Reece James' body positioning, he is completely not, if you go back, he's really not ready for a Raheem Sterling out
Yep.
to in run. He's completely, if yes, KK, that's the right way to pause it. He's completely facing the ball. He's not even aware if Raheem Sterling makes that run. So why not try it out? Why not try it? And there is so much space there on the halfway circle. बहुत जगह है पीछे. And if there is an out to in run, Raheem Sterling will be going closer to goal as opposed to De Bruyne making the in to out and running the channel. So I
Yeah.
felt that was one thing they really didn't try that at all.
Absolutely, and guys, the defenders that City have with Diaz and Stones and Kyle Walker, guys, these are superb football players who can pass the ball, right? We're not talking about Titus Bramble here, right? So, no offense to Titus, but yeah, you've got the ball here. Come on, play it over the top. But I
Yeah.
think this little bit of obsession of trying to win this final with more intricate passing play has hurt them in the end, right? Let's move forward to how they tried to use Kyle Walker's speed to exploit the free spaces, which was good, interesting. We should have seen more of it, right? So I'm just going to run it on, and
It's the next clip, I think. Yeah.
yeah, it's the next clip here. So,
Yeah, this one.
so guys, yeah. So guys, look here. As we discussed, the space is behind Rudiger. The question is who should exploit it? Somebody with speed, and there's no one quicker than Mr. Walker, right? तो क्या होता है? Walker, he decides to he plays it short pass to the midfielders. He decides to continue his run and get beyond into that channel that we're talking about, right? Yes, he gets it and he crosses it in. A positive thing, which maybe they could have tried to do more. And guys, interestingly, those who watched Inter Milan versus Jose Mourinho's Inter Milan when they
Barca.
beat Barcelona in the
Yeah.
Champions League, and Jose did this with Maicon, would
Yep.
sprint from deep and try to just exploit that space behind it. Very rarely done, but a weapon that I felt Pep tried to do, but for whatever reason didn't happen enough. Last thing, yeah,
Yeah,
go on,
sorry. Yeah, go on.
yeah, go on. Go ahead, go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry.
I was just going to say, and then they changed it to sort of it wasn't working. They sort of tried to do things a bit differently. So I think you can explain that in more
Yeah.
detail.
Yeah, exactly, guys. So look, Pep is brilliant. There's no criticism. I'm sitting here. I can't criticize Pep Guardiola, but and it's easier
अच्छा,
to sit here
I
and say,
thought कोई भी कर सकता है ट्विटर पे बैठ के.
but I think it's easier for us in retrospect to think about these things. If we just see how he tried to change things, right? He didn't just sit back and think, yeah, okay, let's just let it go like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who just sat there for 90 minutes and just
iPad
said,
iPad iPad होता है भाई उसके बाद.
yeah. So Pep, if you guys notice, if you can see Pep at the bottom of the screen, he is now indicating to Foden and De Bruyne, and he's telling them, "Okay, yaar, both of you go as strikers. both of you go as strikers as a front two. Okay, and why guys? What that does is it starts to occupy more of the defenders of Chelsea and free up someone else, right? It either frees up space for Kyle Walker or Bernardo Silva, because now Rudiger has he can't press out to Bernardo. He has to worry about Foden, and Thiago Silva has to worry about De Bruyne. So he tried to change this up to try to get joy from this tactic, and he actually did find some joy, as we'll see. I will run it on. Look, guys, Kyle
Yep.
Walker gets space, and he's able to now exploit it. Because the defenders are more
Yeah.
preoccupied.
And this was probably their best chance of the game. Like if this had
Exactly.
almost fallen to him.
Exactly. We'll just run it on one more time. And one thing I'd like to also point out is that, sorry, I'll just go back one more time, just to point out that Mahrez also moved inside. Throughout the game, the first 25 minutes, he was touching the touchline. He was on the touchline, and now he's moved inside. What that does is that Chilwell also followed him, right? And that's created a lot of space now in the wide area for Kyle Walker to do his thing. And as Ismail mentioned, guys, this was like best chance of the game for them. And my thought process here is that this is worked. It's working. Can we do more of this? Can we get Kyle Walker bombing on? Like Ismail, you mentioned before the show, Danny Alves used to do this a lot, right? With going forward and getting around the fullback and crossing it in.
Yeah,
So just
absolutely. I think
yeah,
एक और
I'll
चीज
just
भी जो they could have done more was which obviously we've not talked about so far is के the long ball from Ederson in behind to Sterling वो हमने थोड़ी सी बात की that worked once which normally would have given more reason to do it again वो एक दफ़ा ही उन्होंने पूरे मैच में ट्राई की थी and Sterling was almost in.
Exactly. And guys, the frustration is कि यार Pep Guardiola did this against PSG, right?
Yeah.
Edison is the one that played it to Zinchenko, and they, scored. So I just feel like, it's not, I'm not sitting and say, go away from your principles. Pep does this a lot. He exploits spaces behind with runners, right?
I think
And
back in
that
the
was,
day
yeah.
when they had Leroy Sané, they tried that a lot with him as well. Aymeric Laporte would used to play a ball and he would make that run out. Yeah, it's surprising they didn't try it with different more often. You would like to say,
I think
Yeah.
एक
why
गोल था
not
इनका
try it more
न्यूकासल के
often?
खिलाफ away at St James's when Rafa used to be Newcastle they won 1-0 and it was exactly by De Bruyne picking up in the half space Sterling making that out to in run because वो भी 5 center back वो 5 defenders खेल रहा
Yeah,
था that literally
yeah,
clipped ball और उसकी वजह से वो one
yeah.
touch पे उसने गोल किया था or something of the sort so something like that. अच्छा one thing that Kareem I wanted to ask जो काफ़ी लोग तो एटलीस्ट कह रहे थे कि वो was the main talking point was why he didn't play Rodri or Fernandinho and why he played Gundogan as in the at the base of the diamond जो sitting midfielder खेल रहा था. Why do you think that is?
So I think he wanted a player who has a much better passing ability and passing range to be able to find players between the lines, to be able to find Zinchenko, Bernardo Silva, which are more intricate passes needed. I think Rodri has been out of form from what I've seen in the last month or so. Even against Chelsea, he didn't play too well in the previous game. So I think he had lost a bit of confidence and faith in Rodri for the short term. Fernandinho, again, I feel like if you compare in terms of passing ability, Gundogan is better than Fernandinho. The concern
Even
I
I
think
think
people
the element of legs as well felt with Fernandinho to keep running with these players.
yeah, perhaps that was also a case. I think it would have been better protection if you played Fernandinho because a lot of times you saw when Werner was getting a chance at the edge of the box, running in the first 20
लेकिन
minutes.
इतना ज़्यादा मसला यही
Fernandinho,
था कि it was less about how City protected against the counter attack because I think वो natural consequence of their moves breaking down. Obviously counter तभी पड़ते हैं if you're not being able to create enough openings. तो we don't know obviously ये इस तरह trade offs ही होते हैं ना as you know very well कि football में they trade offs. So Fernandinho को लाने से हो सकता है उनका attack और build up ना होता उनसे और उनसे कुछ ना बनता which would meant more quantity of counters, अब पता नहीं उसका क्या बनना था कि whether he could have been able to sniff them out. But I think that, like you pointed out, their main problem was failure to build up or create chances properly because of
Yeah,
Chelsea's work.
I think, sorry, I to cut you off, Ismail, but I think that if you want a player in that position who has unbelievable passing range, right? Maybe a little radical for me to say this, but if you had De Bruyne deeper, receiving it from the centre backs, turning, and then trying to play balls in behind to Sterling, as we discussed, maybe that would have been effective for City. But like I said, easier for us pundit couch potatoes to sit and say this. But I just disappointed in the way Pep went about it.
Sahi. And obviously this is obviously wasn't a one-sided final. Chelsea were playing as well, and they were part of a big reason why City weren't able to do their usual thing. Hamdan obviously looked quite closely जो Chelsea ने किया था. What did they do जिसकी वजह से Pep को बिल्कुल भी space in between the lines नहीं मिल रही थी?
I think what they did was a lot of it has been talked about how Rudiger actually steps out aggressively to press out the player in between the line. Rudiger was doing it. Along with that, Azpilicueta was doing it on the other side as well. So both the City players who were in between the lines, Zinchenko and I think Bernardo Silva, it was, none of them had space and time to turn and then run at the defenders. ये तो एक element था, exceptionally tight in a way and not allowing the turn. I think once or twice that happened, and once or twice that happened, और जब City खेल पाया था, then they had their plan B, which was the strikers who would come, the forwards would actually come all the way back and cut out those passing lanes to somehow prevent that penetration opportunity. So, and linked with it is when they would press out how the other defenders and midfielders were covering. So it's not only one way. Yes, everyone knows, and they were saying, "Yeah, ठीक है, Rudiger जा रहा है." But there's also something fascinating around happening in and around what the other midfielders and the defenders were doing. So guys, let's start with what Chelsea's defensive shape was, and I'll pause it at this spot. Okay, so basically, Kareem even mentioned a little bit City's 3-4-3 diamond structure. What Chelsea were doing, they were in a 5 midfield and 3 forwards up top. Obviously, this is why Pep even felt he can have Zinchenko on this side in this space and Bernardo Silva in this space, so that they could exploit the spaces on the sides of the two holding midfielders. But yes, Chelsea had a plan for that. So I'll run this on a little bit, and if you could see, Rudiger already has stepped out of his defensive line, and Bernardo Silva has seen that, and now they've decided there's no point in playing it to Bernardo Silva, even in this clip. It's the same clip, so they're discouraged over there. So what they try to do is then they try to go to the other side and try to do the same thing over the other on the left side. So यहाँ पे भी अगर देखें, Ruben Diaz has the ball, and now notice Azpilicueta तो आ रहा है Zinchenko पे, but he is instructing Kante to do one other thing, because the idea is to play to Zinchenko and somehow Foden will try to come over here and support. वो कांटे को इशारा दे रहे कि यार ये पास रोको तुम, मैं जा रहा हूँ उसके ऊपर, that is being sorted, and I will come over there and I'll block this pass. So we'll play it on. Kante is at him. यहाँ से नहीं खेल पाए. So what now? The other thing happens. Kevin De Bruyne is actually trying to go into this space, and now the other thing is Jorginho. If you notice, Jorginho is also screening this pass. Okay, even if it's played to De Bruyne, either he can cut it out, or if it's a bad touch or it's a little heavier touch, he'll be there to pounce at it. So they had this, yes, heavy man marking, but the coverage in and around, how to cover the space in behind, how to cover the space centrally, that was exceptional. And they pegged back. Zinchenko couldn't turn, okay, and restart the attack. Let's look at another clip where City is, again, it's Rudiger is jumped up high. He's looking to be aggressive. He doesn't want Bernardo Silva to turn. It gets played to Kyle Walker. Yes, and Kareem showed it in his part as well. De Bruyne did run into those channels, but the distances from Thiago Silva was exceptional to actually cover that. अगर वो थोड़ा सा भी centrally होता, perhaps De Bruyne could have actually made that run, but their distances as a whole defensive unit were exceptional. So it got played in behind. Thiago Silva was perfectly there. Even for the second ball, there is Rudiger to win that second ball. Kante is running back. So they had prepared for this as well, in my assumption. So, guys, this is once where actually Zinchenko or whoever it was got
Yeah, it was
played.
Zinchenko. Yeah.
It is Zinchenko who got played. And Kyle, because he came a little too central,
Yeah.
Aspilicueta was a little slightly confused. Kya मैं जाऊं नहीं जाऊं? With that second, it got played. But see how they recovered. Yes, there is pressure on him. So now note Aspilicueta goes on him hard. And now notice how De Bruyne has tried to come into this space where Zinchenko initially was, and Thiago Silva followed him. So there's again, it got played, it's played back again. They cannot penetrate forward. It
And
gets to De
and then
Bruyne
notice how they're just not allowing them to turn at any moment.
at any
Yeah.
moment. Absolutely. Absolutely. Not allowing them to turn at any
I
moment.
think one thing I
So
would add is that if a player of City's quality, the players that they have, if they have space and time to turn to play, they'll hurt you, right? And
yeah,
Chelsea made sure that in dangerous areas, in the middle phase of the pitch, they did not allow them to get that space
yeah,
and time. A couple of times, Reece James was hesitant, right? And
yeah,
actually, City hurt them
yeah.
in that situations. Yeah, Hamdan, go ahead.
Yeah, this is a very identical clip to the initial one where Aspilicueta instructs Kante. And let's see what actually happens. So it gets played to again Diaz. Aspilicueta comes. It's played to Zinchenko now. Reece James is tight on him. Kante is following this guy. I think it's De Bruyne, if I'm not wrong. And what happens is, yes, under the pressure, they misplace the pass. And all of a sudden, it's a counter opportunity for Chelsea. So, so the coverage in and around after the man marking, क्योंकि man marking में हमेशा मैं एक बात बोलते हैं ना कि यार आप बंदे को मार्क कर रहे हो, तुम स्पेस को नहीं मार्क कर रहे हो. One guy was marking the guy, but yes, the midfielders actually were covering the spaces and their players as well. So they had literally no chance to to play in behind or to turn and run through, which was, I think, in my opinion, amazing from the Chelsea players. So now I'll move on to the second part where I felt that whenever City somehow managed to gain any superiority and somehow managed to build out and get to the players to turn in between the lines, तो उन्होंने फिर उसको counter कैसे किया था. So this is one build up which was interesting. I'm not going into the City part, but Zinchenko came in all the way as a number two holding midfielders. So this is Zinchenko and Gundogan, and they have a combination. And now they play to Ruben Diaz over there,
Yeah.
and now they're facing the game. So now notice the objective is to play this pass. When it goes to Bernardo Silva, they'll run at the Chelsea defenders. But you notice as soon as that pass is being played, Mason Mount is prepared to pounce on it, even if he cannot cut off the pass. Actually, he does cut off. Even if it gets played to them, the idea is to let them create that superiority on that side, right? Because if it goes to Bernardo Silva, it's a sort of a 2v1 over
Yeah.
there. They were preventing any numerical superiority in and around the final third. So this is how they did. Okay, in the second half, when Kareem even mentioned that they were trying to somehow play Riyad Mahrez inside and they were trying to exploit the space on the side. What they did was they tried to counter it by having the ball sided forward, come back all the way to track it and again prevent any superiority. तो अभी भी अगर आप देखें कि यहाँ पे अगर pass play हो जाए, it is a potentially 2v1 with Kyle Walker running at you. But
Yeah.
as soon as that happens, this is, I think, Mason Mount
Yeah.
who's signaling, okay, I am there, I'm coming at it. So there is no chance of them creating a superiority. So this was the second element of them. And it then actually happens on the other side as well. They're safe over here. They're nowhere to turn. So again, guys, another picture where Mason Mount has come in all the way. No chance for City players to somehow intricately play through it or to create a superiority, which they usually look to do. And now notice this is Havertz over here, because they're aware that
वहाँ
Chelsea are
बॉल
putting
गई
more
तो
numbers over
2v1 हो
there.
जाएगा यार.
But there is this 2v2. They lose the ball. They will lose the ball, and bam, the counter happened. So they did these two things brilliantly, and yeah, they had City by surprise. I don't know if they had City by surprise, if that's the right word, but I think they were really well prepared for that.
I think also that Kante got a lot of praise and credit to Kante. He was brilliant, not taking away from him. He was really, really good. But for me, like my man of the match was Mason Mount. I felt that defensively he was brilliant. He tracked every run. He snuffed out any danger. When they had the ball, Mount seemed very
Mount
threatening.
created
He
the
actually got
created the goal.
he created the goal. And if you guys remember in the start, the chance to Werner, where Werner, being Werner, hit it at the goalie, Mount created that as well. He was brilliant. And for his age to play that way in a Champions League final, guys, my
He's
man of the
very
match,
tactically mature, very tactically mature and disciplined. I think yeah, I think you guys summed it up brilliantly. I think it was a bit to do with the how City couldn't play the usual game, but obviously that was done a lot to the tactical discipline and off the ball distances and positioning that Chelsea occupied, which I think is a great credit to Tuchel. I think this has been a brilliant sort of discussion on the match. I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you so much for doing this, guys. It has been Manchester City 0, Chelsea 1, Pep Guardiola वापस fraud बन गए हैं थोड़ी देर के लिए until the next match, whenever that is. But this has been Breaking the Lines from On the Mic. Do subscribe to our channel, follow us on social media, and check this new show out. These two are sort of the best you can get in terms of football minds in this country. So I mean, you can't go anywhere better. कोई और competitors नहीं है अभी हमारे. So I mean, you have to check this out. And obviously, once we launch this on Patreon, you can sort of subscribe to us there. Until next time, though, take it easy.